Kate Monthy. I live here in Tacoma and I am a dance instructor. I teach classical ballet mostly, but I tend to lean a little bit more towards the modern and contemporary styles of dance. The earliest memories that I have with dance are definitely as a student and studying dance, and I think one of the ironic things that happened to me is when I was super little, I had a teacher that always made us create dances. We always had to do makeup dances, and I absolutely hated it, and I hated going to ballet because I knew we were going to have to do makeup dances. And then what I think is so interesting about that is that I grew up to be a choreographer.
So I'm Joel Myers, and I am the Assistant Artistic Director of Tacoma City Ballet. So getting into dance and getting into ballet started because I had a very impulsive friend in high school. And he was very easily influenced by things, inspired by things for short periods of time. We saw Lord of the Dance, the Irish step dancing phenomenon. And that was what we were going to do. We were going to become Irish step dancers,
I think probably where dance changed for me the most is when I stepped outside of the classical dance, because that was really my world and my training, and what I was completely absorbed in. And then when I started dancing for Zoe and Juniper in Seattle, that really just pulled me out of a very small box that I was in. It was a change in my path, but then it also just opened up this whole new world of what else I could do with dance.
I've been really lucky in my dance career to pass from one mentor to the next. And I'm on my third, world-class mentor. But my second mentor, Donald Bird, up at Spectrum Dance Theater, talked about sort of stages in a choreographer's life, and he said kind of initially all you do is you move, you make movement because you're young and you're still dancing, and that dance is very much you feel it, and so you just make movement because you feel it in your body, and then you give that movement to other people.
I think the most inspired I ever was to create something of my own based on absorbing other people's work was I lived in New York for a small bit of time and was able to take classes from just so many people, and just from taking those different classes, not necessarily seeing other people's performance work inspired me, just because it was always teaching me a new way to move. I think for dancers, that sometimes can be the key to a light bulb moment of, I want to create something based on this new movement that I'm discovering.
All the technical things, I think they go hand in hand, and I think that's why I'm interested in teaching it. That if it was just, a dance technique, it would be very, boring to me. But because most of the kids that I teach, very few, 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 will go on to have a professional career. But all of them can take a lot from a classical education, whether it's a classical martial art, whether it's a real classical study of an instrument, or classical ballet is the same way, where it really can impact your life and how you see it. It gives a lot of opportunity to male dancers. I mean, I definitely would not have had a professional career had I been a female dancer starting at the age of 17.
I can't really imagine my life without some sort of dance activity in it, whether that's teaching. I find myself mostly teaching now with dance. Since I retired from Spectrum about 2 years ago, I didn't want to pursue dancing professionally for anybody else. I felt like at this point in my life I was ready to not be doing that daily grind anymore. I think as long as I keep dancing my life, it's going to open up different ideas and opportunities for me, and that's probably why I keep it in my life. And I just can't imagine not having it in my life. the Tacoma dance scene has really ebbed and flowed. I think that's a good way to say it.
Right.
And I think it depends on who's a player at the time.
Right.
I think for a long time, Tacoma was a ballet primarily city. Like growing up here, I wasn't aware of any option to learn, I don't know, something other than ballet. Like there were ballet schools primarily, is my point.
Right.
And then Barefoot came on the scene. I remember them as like sort of the first, we're gonna open a center, and it's not gonna be a ballet center, it's gonna be a modern dance center, I would say.
Yeah.
And they were in this like hip area a little bit, like this growing area of the Tacoma Dome district, and they were newcomers to Tacoma, so everything was just like interesting to me.
Right. I mean, in my opinion, the biggest non-ballet influence of the last, of my being aware of the dance scene in Tacoma was you. And the impact that the Move shows and the 10 Tiny shows that you produced had on the dance community, students coming up, seeing that, being exposed to that, realizing that there were options in addition to, in concert with ballet. You could do your ballet and you could do contemporary dance. You could do performance art and modern and jazz, and that those things could feed each other. And then for audience members as well. I mean, I remember so many of the shows talking to people, and they would see, really, really diverse types of dance all in the same show.
We had to stretch their minds, I think, and you could see when we started Move, and we started Move because I was dancing for Zoe Juniper, and we wanted to do a fundraiser. So I was like, well, let's do a show in Tacoma. I think I can get people there. I think I can fill up this theater maybe once, twice, like let's risk it. And so I think pretty sure that's how it started, but I remember people coming to that show and they were like, I don't know what that was. I think I liked it,
Right.
And then, but you could tell as we did Move over and over and over again, that people would come to every single one. Some people would. We'd have those like Move goers, like Sherry Ray was one of them, or or Leah Smiley, and all these people are always like, we got to give these people something because they've come to almost 15 of our series,
Yeah, I mean, when I would do the Joel shows, it was because I was, the very first one I did, it was because of knowing my career trajectory and realizing there were many things I didn't know about producing a show. Mm-hmm. And I'd been around and I'd helped produce shows before, and so, I thought, well, what better way to learn but just produce a show and find out what you don't know about producing a show as you go along.
Yeah.
And there was a lot, and then after that, I never intended to do the same thing. I never intended it to be a series. And then after that, it would be when I was dancing for Spectrum in Seattle, it would be during the off season, my chance to work in Tacoma.
Which is a lot to add on to your plate.
So, and now I work in Tacoma. I choreograph in Tacoma, I teach in Tacoma, I dance in Tacoma. What's just one sort of not like the end all be all, but like what's one favorite thing that you've done in Tacoma that you've made happen? Mm-hmm. What's one that you've been a part of?
I think I like 10 Tiny dances the best.
Yeah.
I like it because, and for anybody that doesn't know about 10 Tiny, it's where you have to dance on that 4 foot by 4 foot stage, and we've put it always or most lately we put it in Jazz Bones, and that's been like the best scene for people that just want to go out to dinner, have drinks, and see a show, and maybe they're surprised that it's a dance show. But I love it that you can it's my favorite because you're putting dance in a venue that isn't built for dance, and people are still seeing it sometimes like dance in that way for the first time, and they get this like spectrum of dance because you're trying to curate a show that has 10 different uses of that small stage. And so I think there's like something for everybody, and it's fun because it's in a bar and you can still bring your kids, and
right,
or a restaurant bar. I think that's my favorite. What's your favorite? In the history of Joel dancing in Tacoma.
There's a couple of highlights. I mean, definitely getting to do, I think, you know, getting to do Nutcracker in Tacoma, like getting to dance like the Cavalier and really showcase, you know, everything that my classical ballet training is, you know, the absolute best of it, because I trained in Auburn. I performed, you know, most of my professional career in Seattle or in, you know, South King County. And so then I would do sort of like smaller contemporary, you know, personal things in Tacoma. And so there were a lot of people that only knew me as that, you know, and didn't, you know, they were like, oh, we know he's theoretically a professional dancer and we know theoretically he does ballet, but we've never really seen, you know, what's the actual capacity of that. And so that's a satisfying one. Definitely the couple of shows that Daniel Blue and I did together were really fun in that it was like a true collaboration and just like so many people would be involved, and it was just like
the fashion shows with dance.
Yeah, it was just like fashion, theater, dance stuff, you know. Those were really fun, and it was just fun to just, you know, work with friends and stay up late and, you know, work on the new part of it and, you know, barely have it done, you know, and it was just, it felt, you know.
That was an interesting time in Tacoma, and I don't know if like now we're just too old to be like.
I found that out myself. I'm like,
aware of that.
Is there less of a scene now, or do I just
that was a scene. That was a great scene.
Do I just miss it? Are there like, you know, 18 to 22-year-olds just like doing amazing stuff, and we just are like past it?
I'm unaware of it. I don't think so. I want to.
I'm still cool. I'm still cool.
I would know about it. Yeah. No.